Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and I just want to show you how to install kitchen cabinets. So to start with, we're going to actually start with the upper cabinets. I've already hung another wall over here. So what we're going to do on on the wall behind me is going to hang the wall cabinets, and then we'll do the base cabinets. So a couple of the things to start out with. What you want to do is mark out some lines to work with. So you want to get some elevation lines as far as the height of your cabinets. In this case, I like to mark the bottom just because it's easier to see as I'm hanging the cabinet as opposed to the top line. And also I've got a vertical line here for where the edge of the cabinet should end up being. And again on the other side of the window here too. This is a really narrow cabinet, so there's just a small bit of a bottom, the vertical, and then the horizontal for a cabinet over the fridge in this area. Okay, so you want to get that kind of laid out. Once you have that, you want to find the center of any studs or blocking that you have in that wall so that you know where you're going to be able to easily screw into. It's preferred that you can get into a stud. On a larger cabinet, this is one cabinet, so it's about 26 inches or something like that. You'd want to have probably 4 screws in that cabinet into the wall, into good solid blocking. If for some reason you can't get enough studs, you could use wall anchors, like the threaded in metal wall anchors or butterfly type anchors. Preferably though, you want to for sure get at least half your screws into some good wood. If in your particular layout though you had, say, maybe you've got a bank of cabinets here, no window, and you've got a couple cabinets, maybe a little one and another bigger set there. Because you're going to have these ones all screwed in really well, and if say one in the middle doesn't really hit a stud or something, it's not as critical of a thing. You could put some drywall anchors in on that one, and then you're going to also be screwing the cabinet into the ones on either side of it, so they'll kind of help support as long as they're well fastened to the wall. So a few little things like that. So get your centers marked out, your actual positions of the cabinets, and if you kind of get that done ahead of time, it just helps you out quite a bit. It just kind of speeds it up once you get to the actual install. Another thing that I like to do, and actually I can show you over here, if you look here on this cabinet, the box of the cabinet is basically from here to here. But from here over, there's a small filler strip put in there. And I always like to start with a filler strip against the wall. You can usually correct for any out of plumbness, or just give yourself a little bit of room. So when your door opens up here, you've got the handle sticking out. If this cabinet's right against the wall, the door isn't really going to open up to 90 degrees. It's because the handle's going to hit the wall. So it gives you a little bit of room there. It also gives you a little bit of room so that you can, you have a little bit of wiggle room to get your cabinets exactly centered up the way you want them. And again, on the base cabinets, I've got a filler down here, and that's sometimes even more important there because, if you had a window frame or a door frame or something really close, you got to remember that trim's going to stick out. Could be half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. So you want to make sure that when you pull out a drawer, the drawer front isn't going to hit on that trim. So a filler in that position, the appropriate thickness is nice to just help avoid some of those types of situations. I generally go with a 1/2 inch or 5/8 filler against the walls like that, and in most cases that'll give you enough room to clear anything. So that's where I'm going to kind of start. I'm going to go over to the other side there. I've got a cabinet set up on some base cabinets just so it's at an easy height to work at. I'm going to nail the spacer or the filler onto the side. I'm just going to brad nail it on. I've already pre-cut it to the right width and the height, and it's stained to match what the final finish of the cabinets are going to be. So I'm going to tack that on. I'm also then going to transfer some marks for these studs here. I'm not going to worry about this stud in the center. I'm going to make sure I get 4 good screws here. So I'll transfer these positions onto the cabinet and drill that so it's all pre-drilled and ready to go. And then we're pretty much ready to install it. So I'll just move over here. Okay, so this is my first cabinet here. And this is the edge that's going to get the filler strip on it. And like I said, I'm just going to brad nail that on. And I'll use a couple clamps to hold it there while I'm getting in position. So I've got a finished end on the bottom as well. So I'm going to make sure I put that down. Oops, get this the right face out. And we'll just use one of these squeeze clamps. And with mine, I just put it flush right to the front of the carcass or the cabinet box. The clamps are just there to hold it temporary. Tacked into position. Okay. So again, use the right length of brad nails. In this case, I've got a 1/2 inch filler strip there. I'm going into 5/8 material. So I'm not going to take a chance with a 1 inch nail. It may pop through on the inside. So I'm just using 3/4 inch length nails. Just put a nail in about every 6-8 inches. Like that. Okay, so our filler strip is on there. Now I'm going to turn it around backwards here. Again, like it was originally. So I've got the cabinet sitting. It's sitting on its bottom, orientated, you know, kind of similar, so it makes sense to me as I mark out my measurements. I'm just going to come over here and get my measurements. Now what I like to do is I like to first mark them right on the back. That way I'm making a measurement hooked right from outside to outside, similar to what I measured over there. I'm not trying to deduct for this gable and, you know, do a bunch of math that I don't need to do, because what happens is you usually end up making an error. So I like to mark it on the back. I'll drill through just so I can see the mark on the inside of the cabinet, and then I'll go inside there and finish the drill and countersink it as well. So I'm going to be 1 3/4 from this edge, and obviously yours is going to be whatever your situation is. And then I like to just use 2.5 inches as kind of my standard measurement, up from the bottom and down from the top. My other measurement is 25. 2.5 again. And that, if you just pick a measurement that kind of works for every position as far as the heights, then it just looks better on the inside of the cabinet. When it's all said and done, you'll cover your screws with a screw cap anyways, so it, you know, you don't just have the screw head there, but still nice if everything looks nice and neat and straight. Okay, so I'm using a drill bit here. This will pre-drill for the length of the screw. It'll actually drill the countersink as well, which is this cone shape down at the bottom, and then this big collar here is a stop, so that it sets the countersink at the right depth. So if you don't have this bit, it doesn't really matter. Just take caution when you're putting your screws in so you don't sink them too far. Otherwise the caps won't fit on properly. So like I said, I'm just gonna go through enough that it marks it on the inside. And then I'll turn the cabinet around and redo it from the inside so I can get the countersink. Okay, so that just gets me through. So now I can see the positions on the inside of the cabinets here. And I'm probably completely in the way for you to really see what I'm doing. It just, you can see I've got the pilot hole, and as well I've got the countersink spot. If you're using melamine like we are here for the construction of the cabinets, a lot of times you can get away without even countersinking it. The melamine and the particle board is usually soft enough when you tighten the screw up, the head of the screw will sink in there anyways, but sometimes that will chip, so it's just nice to go ahead and have it countersunk, at least has a little neater finish. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to be using 2.5-inch screws. You don't want to go too crazy on the length of your screws. What I like to try to do is be at least figured out so that I've got an inch of screw back into the stud. You know, if you take a 3.5-inch screw and drive it in there, there's way more chance that you're going to go through a plumbing pipe, electrical line, something like that. So usually if you stay within that front inch of the stud work, you shouldn't have any issues with hitting anything. And I just like to start my screws in there. I just put them in enough that they're going to stay there on their own, but they aren't sticking out on the back, so that when I'm lifting the cabinet into place, I'm not scratching the wall all up, just in case I'm not quite in the right spot where it's going to be covered again. Just making sure they aren't sticking out. Okay. So now, before I actually screw it into place, I want to take it over there, kind of dry fit it, make sure everything's going to work out nice, and then I will screw it in place. I guess I should mention, sorry, I got the camera guy chasing me all over. Some people are up in the air about, you know, should you do the base cabinets first, wall cabinets first, what's the order? To be quite honest, I've done it all different ways. It really depends on the situation, I find. A lot of times I will do the base cabinets, and then I can use you know, some different blocks and that I've got sitting on the cabinets below that it will help hold the cabinet up for me in the, you know, proper position, because I work by myself most of the time. But the other factor is that sometimes it's easier to hang the wall ones before the base cabinets are in the way, because you can, you know, you can get right up there and kind of get your shoulder into it while you're holding it too. So today, like I said, I'm doing the wall cabinets first, but you kind of choose your own method. So I'm going to just dry fit it first. Basically just come up to the wall, slide down to about where my line's supposed to be, have a look around. Actually, that all looks really good, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to throw a level on it just to have a look. And that's good. My line was level before, but it doesn't hurt to double check. So I'm going to throw one of my first screws in here. Okay, just double check my levelness. Pretty good there. It could have been up just a hair. See how we are for Plumb. Plumb's really good. I'm going to take this one screw out and just try to go up a little bit on this one corner. Okay, so we've got one hanging. Now, like I said, like you already seen me do, I like to check the level, obviously. Like that, that's better actually. And check the plumb, we're good there. Now, something else you can check is plumb this direction as well. To me, honestly, it's not quite as important. You know, you're trying to follow the wall as it is. If it was really out, like this one's out maybe, I don't even think that'd be 1/8 of an inch. If it was really out, you could put shims top or bottom, you know, and get it all up. I personally myself, I don't think that's as big of a deal as making sure that we're level and plumb so the cabinet box is square. So I'm happy with the way this one went up. You can just see my line here a little bit. There will be a finish panel goes on here, and we'll go through that as well. So this will be finished in the dark brown, just like the front edge and the doors will be. So that covers up this white edge. So I'm happy with that. I don't think I talked about the actual height. Now this can be a little bit up to yourself. Kind of the standards are, you know, your countertop is going to be 36 inches high in your kitchen, so that's the top of the countertop. And a lot of companies and people, their standard height, the actual top of the cabinet is 7 feet, 84 inches. And those are the standards that I use as well. That being said, you can pretty much do whatever you want. The countertop height is a little more critical. You know, you could go lower for handicap accessibility, but 36 is a nice working height for most people. So that's pretty much always used for kitchen counters. The heights can be different. Sometimes people want the upper cabinets to be staggered in height, or maybe they want them right up tight to the ceiling or whatever. So, you know, it's kind of whatever the customer wants or you want yourself. So just go with what you need. Okay, so we've got that cabinet there. That's all I'm going to do with that one for right now. I'm going to grab the next cabinet, which is this little guy. And I've got it already pre-drilled. I'm just going to throw a couple screws on the inside. Just going to double check that my line was plumb here. Should be good. Okay, so I'll bring this one over and get it into position. Just using my lines there that I had on the wall as my guide. This one's really narrow. Okay, I've got that first one in there. Oh, and that one didn't hit the stud. Okay, I'm going to leave that one in the drywall. This should hang here. And now I remember why. This is where we filled in a window. So that stud actually doesn't go all the way up there. I'm going to have to come down to about 4.5 inches, 4 inches. So we will stick another screw right there. We had filled in, if you watch some of our other videos, you probably recognize this room. We had filled in a larger window opening that was here. And I forgot that one stud didn't go all the way to the top. Okay, so there we go. Back that screw out. And I'll just fill in that hole afterwards. Okay, so we've got this one on. Just double check. Nice and plumb there. I don't know if the camera can actually zoom in well enough on that bubble. Anyways, you'll have to trust me. That's plumb. And we're level too, so I just want to be sure that our cabinets are level from side to side to each other, and yeah, that's bang on. So not quite as important in this setup. There's nothing going to be going across there that would actually join them together, but you know, sometimes you'll have a valance or a light skirt or something across there, so obviously it needs to be critical that you have that nice and level and straight. Okay, the next cabinet is over here, which will be up over the fridge, so it's quite a narrow, deep cabinet. I'm going to put it up on here so that I can drill the back. And you can see here, I've already attached the finished end onto this cabinet, so it's colored to match. And the reason for that is that cabinet goes against here, but it protrudes out quite a bit too, so I need that panel in there before I put it up. So I already did that earlier today. Now I'm going to mark out you can see I've got a fair bit of framing here to choose from. I'm definitely going to use this set down here, and I'm going to use, where was that opening so I don't have that same problem. I should be able to use this one. So those are the 4 positions I'm going to use, so 10.5 and 35 and 3/8. So I've got my cabinet sitting. I'm just thinking so I don't make a mistake. I can measure from this end, 10.5. Use this level as a bit of a brace there, so when I get the cabinet sitting up close, that level will take some of that weight and I won't have to struggle myself quite so much. Okay, so I've got that ready. Now as well, once I get this one up there, I've got to fasten these two together also. So I'll be putting some, I've got 2 layers of 5/8. Actually, I guess in this case, I've got 3 layers of 5/8. So 1 1/8, that's 1 3/4. So I'll probably go to 1.5 inch screw. Where are they? Right here. To actually join the 2 cabinets together. Actually, no, 1 1/4 inch, and so that's almost 2 inches. So I could go a little bit longer screw. So anyways, I'll use a longer screw so that when I come inside of this cabinet, I can fasten it into this one as well. It's just going to take me a second to get that cabinet up into position, and then I'll show you how to put it in. Okay, so you'll have to trust me. The 2 of us just got that up there against the wall. Basically, this corner up here, I'm getting this cabinet that we just hung flush to the top here and attached the 2 together with the screws on the inside. And then I threw the level on the cabinet itself here, as you can see. Actually, right back inside though. And then we just adjusted this left side here up until it was level, and we stuck in one of the screws. So I'm just going to put in the last screw. That. And that just sucked down our front there. So we're good. We're nice and level. So sorry we kind of didn't show all of that on the camera, but it's hard to run the camera and hang the cabinet at the same time. So we got that all in there. And like I said, we did fasten the 2 cabinets together as well. So that just sucks this up nice and tight there so we don't get any space. Just got to put this down. Okay, so we've got for this wall here, we've got the cabinets hanging. So we're on a good start for what we have to do. The next step that I would do is go back and put the finished ends on. So there'll be a finished end on those 2 areas and over here as well. Now I've got this one cut here. What did I do with it? Here it is. So here's our finished gable, and I've got it all cut. You might have noticed that I've got this hanging down right here on this upper one. On this one above the fridge, I like to do that. You'll see later in the video I put a piece of trim on the bottoms of all these, and on the fridge here I like to hang the gables down so the trim just butts straight into that. It just does a little neater job than making a return there. So I'm gonna have to get right up there. And like I said, I've got this cut to the depth I wanted and everything. I hang the finished gables out about 1/2 inch from the face of the cabinet. So it kind of blocks off the seam between the back side of the door and the face of the cabinet. Just closes it up and finishes it off a little nicer. You can kind of pick what you want. I find if I use 1/2 inch, it works out nice for the crown mold and that too. So if you go a little bit further than that, sometimes certain crown molds may not look as good. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just putting this end panel up flush to the bottom of the, or sorry, to the top of this cabinet up here. Just like that, right there. And now I'm going to put some 1 1/8" screws in. We're going through 2 layers of 5/8, which is 1 1/4". And so I'm using 1 1/8" screws so that I don't have an issue with bulging the outer face, because these are obviously going in from the inside. So I like to keep them up fairly high and about 1 inch in from the front edge. And I had marked some spots previously during assembly, so depending on the cabinets you've either purchased or made, you may or may not have finished gables like this that are detachable. A lot of the bigger manufacturers, their gables are all like the actual end of the cabinet is finished where they need to be, so then you don't have these. When I build them, I just put these finished gables on so that there's not as much messing around building the actual cabinets. So as long as you allow for that in your layout process, then you're all right. So we've got that one on. Now these other two, I've just got to cut them to the actual width. So for instance, this one here, these cabinets are 12 inches deep from the wall, so I'm going to cut that gable at 12.5 inches. I get them, when I pre-make them, they're made just slightly oversized so that if I have to cut anything for out a plumb wall or anything, I've got a little bit to play with there. So I'm just going to step out and cut those to width and then bring them back in. Okay, so I've got my finished gables cut to width. A little bit of dust on them. So I'm going to put this one on here. I actually can't show you putting the other one on that narrow cabinet because I didn't bring my right angle drill today, and I can't get this drill in there to do it. You need to screw them from the inside. So I think you've got the idea just by watching what I did already over on that other cabinet. But we'll put this one on. So again, I'm just coming up here. Now these ones in my plan, they don't hang down on the bottoms, just that one over the fridge. So these ones actually get lined up nice and flush, and if they're a little long at all, which this one is just a hair, I do hang it down just a little bit. It's more important that it's right flush on the very top. So throw my clamps on. Now I could cut the height down, but it's such a minute little bit that I'll probably end up screwing something up instead of fixing it, so better off to leave it like it is. Okay, so I'm just going to pop these screws in, and again, these are 1 1/8" screws. You will use whatever length you need. Now because I can't get a clamp obviously at the back there, you just push as hard as you can and suck it together with the screw. Okay, so we got that. Now as I'm doing the install, I don't worry too much about cleaning out sawdust, all that kind of stuff, because every screw or fastener you put in, you just end up with more in there. So kind of leave it till the end and sweep them all out. Then I wipe them all down with some solvent, get rid of any pencil lines or marks or anything. Once they're all clean, then I go around with my little white caps. And I'm sure you've seen them before. So they're just a little, oop, helps if you don't hold the bag upside down. They're just a little, jeez, really little cap that basically just fits right onto the screw head. So when the screw, this is a number 8 screw, when it's in the cabinet, that little tab that's on the back just pushes right into the screw, and I just give it a little tap with a hammer and it sets it in right flush. So, and they can be removed afterwards if you had to get that out of there. You can get those in different colors, so if the inside of your cabinet is, you know, who knows, whatever color it is, you probably can find a cap that'll work for it as well. Not purple. Okay, so other than showing you that one gable there, that's the basic install for the upper cabinets. And I guess what we'll move on to next will be the lower cabinets. We just have to get reset though to do that. So. Okay, I'm back. I've got most everything prepped up for installing the lower cabinets. Again, I've got my lines all marked out for the positioning, not only the height, but the gables and that sort of thing. We're going to have a cabinet over here against the wall. There's a space for a dishwasher here, which standard dishwasher needs a 24-inch opening to slide into. I allow 25 1/4 because I put a finished panel on each side, and I'll show you that after. But I just dress it up a little bit more. But anyway, so make sure you leave enough space for your dishwasher. We've got the sink cabinet going to go here. So down below you'll see we have some plumbing coming up. In our case, it's coming out of the floor, and we have a vent line coming out of the wall. My sink cabinets, I don't like to put a back on them. All my other cabinets have a solid 5/8 inch back, but the sink cabinet I don't, just because of all this stuff that's usually going on. Just makes it easier to get into place. So in this case, this pipe is going to fit under my back cleat, so that isn't an issue. These ones, I've just got to drill the holes in the bottom of the cabinet, and I've got them marked. I'll just show you drilling them, show you how I drill them. So those are all marked out. You'll notice I've got some different things going on the floor here. I've got these shims across here, and those are placed directly underneath where the gables sit. The reason for these is there's hardwood flooring going in afterwards, so we need to bring the cabinets up so we end up with a proper finished height once the hardwood's in. So that's what that is all about. I put them in, they're screwed down, and I roughly got them pretty close to level, so we shouldn't have to mess around too much with those once I start setting cabinets in place. This wooden chase I've got here, there's a heat duct here in the floor. So this chase is just redirecting the air so it can come out underneath the kick panel of the, through the kick panel of that cabinet. And it's just rerouted over so it's in the center of that sink cabinet. So that's all that is. It's just nailed together and glued to the floor. So before I set that cabinet in for the final time, I'll put a big bead of caulking on the top of here, because this is just slightly lower. When I set the cabinet in, that'll all seal up so that we're forcing that air out and it's not just heating the underside of the cabinets. And then there's a cabinet with a drawer at that end. So we're going to start with this end cabinet that goes in the corner. You should always start in the corners. I don't know if I mentioned that on the upper video, on the upper cabinet part. Always start in the corner, especially if you've got a corner cabinet, you know, an L-shaped cabinets that are going, you know, 2 directions. You for sure want to start there. That's definitely your starting point. Okay, so I've pre-drilled all of these to hit the studs, hopefully, and I've added my my little filler strip here on the end, the spacer, to take it away from the wall. So I'm just going to set this one in place and get it lined up, and see how it all works out here. Okay, so I've got it tight against the wall. I'm just checking it for plumb. It's plumb that way. I want to see that it's level this way, and it is. See what it is for level here. So it's saying the front of the cabinet can go up just a hair. So I'll just slide a shim underneath those the ends of those gables. The base cabinets, it's a lot more important that we do get it level front to back. Like I was saying on the upper cabinets, I don't worry too much about it, but the base cabinets I do. It just makes your sink and everything operate properly, and keeps stuff from rolling off your counters, I guess, as well. Holy Moses, these are pretty thick shims. So that's about where we want to be, but my shims are a little thick, so I'll have to squeeze them down a little bit. There we go. So I just stuck those shims right under the front corners until my cabinet was level. And that's bringing me back actually nice and tight on the wall, so the wall must be plumb, which is surprising because most of the time they aren't. So I'm happy there. I've just got to adjust it over to my line here. The way I came up with that line is you just want to make sure that the side of the cabinet and the wall are square to each other. So I just put that on there and determined a line that gets me to that point. So I just need to get over to there. Okay, so that's one. And then I'm also, I found a stud in this wall here too, so I'm also going to put a screw into those. I just about need my angle drill for this. Get that in there, stick one in the bottom. Okay, just double check that everything stayed the way we wanted it. I'm happy with that. Oops. Yeah, no, I'm good. Okay, something else you might have noticed, a lot of people don't like to paint out their walls before they do the cabinets. I do. I finish them completely so that I don't have to go back and cut in the paint color. So I try to be careful not to bang the walls up too much. If you look down into this cabinet, you might be able to see the lines, the crosshairs I've got drawn back there, and those are corresponding hopefully to the pipe positions coming up out of the floor. So I'm going to drill those with cup saws, I mean. So this one will be the drain. Okay, so that's the larger one. And I need two smaller ones to fit around the other pipes. One's gonna go there. Like so. Okay, so I'm just going to dry fit that over those pipes, and hopefully everything lines up. There we go. Okay, so you can see how that worked out there. I'm just moving the cabinet over to where it should sit. So that gets our pipes all nicely in there. And I'm just gonna, since I've got it sitting there, I'm gonna see how we are for level. We're good that way. Looks like our front probably has to come up a bit again, yep. And I've got a plumb line drawn on the wall, so that's not an issue. So I'm going to pull this cabinet back off of there. I can put some glue around those pieces for the heat duct, and then I can set it back in. So I'm just going to run some PL around the top of that. Nice bead there so that it seals onto there and keeps the airflow coming out from under the cabinets instead of blowing around under the cabinets. Okay, so I'm going to lower that back in there again. Just like so. Yeah, that's good. And I'm just bringing it over to that line I have plumb-wise here on the wall. And I'm probably going to have to thin out a couple of these shims again. Because those are cedar, they can compress a little bit and helps me out. Okay. Pretty good there. Really good there. And I've got my line at the back, so it's just a matter of getting the cabinet over to where it needs to be. And that one can be screwed in. Okay, just like that. Now I just want to check that my space in between here is correct. In my case, I wanted 25 1/4. And I'm looking pretty darn good. Maybe a 1/16 under there, if that. So I'm real happy with that. Now, what I was saying before that I do is I add a finished panel, much like these panels were up top. I add a finished panel onto each side of this opening here so that it sticks out, again, that 1/2 inch. There'd be one over here, but it just finishes off the inside here, so when you open up the dishwasher door, you don't see that ugly white side of the cabinet. You see a nice finished piece that's the same color as the doors and everything are going to be. Now the one thing with these, again, and these ones are real close, but I can't install these until the floor is done because I need to cut them so they sit up on top of the floor. So those won't go on until sometime later. So I've got that. Now I only have the one screw in the top on that cabinet because I don't have a bottom cleat on this sink cabinet. So that does mean that this bottom could still move. But once I have the next cabinet installed and the two screwed together, that will hold everything pretty good. So what I'll do next is lift that next cabinet in up against the sink cabinet. Oh, my one, I'm gonna have to move over that cleat on the floor. I'm not quite far enough over. So I'll just pop that off and get this cabinet installed, and then we can finish up. Just mark a line here. So this was just a little bit too far over, so the cabinet was actually not sitting on it. I'm just going to give myself a bit of a line there so I know where to go to. Okay, so that should hit that now. So if your cabinets, if you bought cabinets from somewhere and they came, you know, with the doors and drawers and fronts and everything all on, you want to remove all that stuff before you do the install, just to simplify it so you don't have any of that stuff getting damaged or in the way. Something else that I do when I've got a dark cabinet face, because this is dark, but there's a bit of a seam in between that's a lighter color, it shows up more, I just take a felt marker and just color the, I'll do it on this one so you can see. I just run it up on the white edge here, just to black that out a little bit, create a shadow there, and it doesn't stand out as much when everything's done. I can get the marker to work. I'll do the same thing here, then it can't be seen from either direction. Just a little trick of the trade. If you black it out, it just doesn't stand out quite as much, usually. Get up there. Okay. Okay, so we're good there. So now I'll just double check that we're still level. So I have a feeling we're a little high on that corner. No, actually we're not. We're good. We're really good. I noticed I was a little bit off the mark there, but it looks like we're really quite good. And we're nice that way, so we don't really have any issues. Basically, if you were just shimming right off your floor or whatever, you just want to use these shims like I used down below to get yourself leveled up. Or if it's really bad, you know, maybe you got a hump in the floor, you might even have to cut the bottom legs off slightly on some cabinets to just kind of split the difference, you know, so that you don't end up where you're, say, tight on the floor at one end and you're 3/4 of an inch off the floor at the other end. You might have to split your difference a little bit to make it equal out. So I can screw this cabinet to the wall. So I'm pushing it against that cabinet at the top. Fasten my screws in. That, and then I'm going to screw the two of them together. I like to use the clamps because it just holds it things nice and tight, and you get that flush. Basically, we've got everything screwed together. I just forgot to mark a bottom screw on the stud in this cabinet, so I'll mark that out after just to get the bottom so nothing moves around. We've got everything nice and level to each other. Again, just double check that, you know, from cabinet to cabinet as you go around, everything's nice and level to each other, flat, so when you put the countertops on, you don't have any issues. And like I said, at this point, I could go around and do a little bit of cleanup, but I'm not going to get too crazy because there's going to be some more dust just by getting the countertops on and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we got that. I don't generally put a finish gable on here because this would be beside the fridge. The fridge is going to stick way out. You'll never see this gable. If you were putting a finished gable on, it's much like the ones we put on up top. If we had the floor finished, we cut it to height, cut it to depth, fasten it on, and everything's good. I don't think I can really show you too much more. I guess something else at the dishwasher. I will be fastening a cleat on the wall here just to support the countertop when it goes across that back section there. But for right now, that's it as far as the actual install. So hopefully this gave you some insight into actually installing some cabinets, like I said, whether you built them yourself whether you've purchased something used or you bought new stuff, whatever the case may be. Generically, some of the steps I used here can be used pretty much on any install. The main thing is getting them level and plumb and fastened securely to the wall, and of course in the right positions. In doing that, you want to make sure you have a layout, obviously. You know, you have a plan, you know where everything's going, everything's ordered. Sometimes on the more generic cabinets that you buy, they won't be custom made to size like these ones were. So, you know, you might have to have some fillers, you know, like this strip we put in here. You may have some areas where you've got it actually in between some cabinets just to make things line up. So, you know, that'd be kind of one of the only differences. And in that case, you'd put it in there, brad nail it in from both sides to the cabinets. So I think we're good. We'll wrap up with this. We've got some other videos up showing you some more steps here, installing some trim moldings, installing the doors, that sort of thing. So you might want to check those out. There'll be a countertop, there's some building the cabinets, all kinds of different ones. So check them all out, and you'll be able to complete your cabinet project without too many hiccups, hopefully. If you do have any problems or more questions, go to the forum, please, on our website at house-improvements.com. Click on the forum section, find the appropriate topic to go into, and ask your questions there. We do have some other information on the website. Go ahead, check that out as well. And if you like this video, click the like button. Thank you.